Commissioner Piebalgs, Deputy Prime Ministers and Ministers, distinguished guests. It's truly an honor for me to thank you for joining here us today at the conference. The main goal of the conference is to commemorate and analyze the experience of Slovakia providing development assistance after 10 years. During those 10 years, Slovakia has successfully transformed from a recipient to donor country. I do hope that the experience of Slovakia might be a useful inspiration for other countries. Let me invite the host of the conference, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign and European Affairs of Slovakia, Mr. Miroslav Lajčák, to deliver his speech. Minister Lajčák will afterwards be followed by the member of the European Commission responsible for development, Mr. Andris Piebalgs. Mr. Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Director General, the Commissioner, the Deputy Prime Ministers, Foreign Ministers, Ambassadors, the guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me welcome you all here in Bratislava in the premises of the Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs, and I'm very pleased that you have accepted my invitation to this conference. As you can see from the title of the conference, we'll be talking not only about the past, but also about the future of the Slovak development assistance and about the future of the development assistance as such. Let me start with a personal remark. 10 years ago, back in 2003, when the development aid of Slovakia was only at its beginning, I was posted as an ambassador in Belgrade. At that time, Serbia and Montenegro was only at early stages of its European integration efforts. Slovak example was a great inspiration and motivation for them. It was only natural that this country became the main priority of the SlovakAid. In short time, we prepared the first strategic framework of cooperation with Serbia and Montenegro. Slovak experts, consultants, technologies, or, for instance, bridge constructions were directed into the country almost immediately. Montenegro has been in accession talks with the European Union for over a year now, and Serbia got an invitation to open accession negotiations with the European Union. I am very glad to state that Slovakia and our development assistance contributed to this success. Ladies and gentlemen, back in 2003, Slovakia celebrated 10 years of its independence. We went through a complex and difficult process of economic reforms, social transformation, and institution building. We joined the club of the most developed countries of the world, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and we were standing in front of the gates of the European Union and NATO. Our success story raised wide interest and respect. In Slovakia, we had a feeling that we have a unique experience to share. Moreover, we were aware that we have achieved a lot, and what we have achieved was also thanks to the valuable help and support of the developed countries, and we should repay this debt. The official development assistance of the Slovak Republic was established quickly and naturally. Already during the first year, our development assistance had a medium-term strategy, national program, and most importantly, the budget. Slovak entities started to implement the first development projects under the logo of the SlovakAid. The Development Aid Department and a few years later also Development Agency were established. The Act on Development Assistance was also adopted. However, we would not be able to make such a fast progress if it was not for the help we received from traditional donors. Our special gratitude goes to all of them: Canadian agency SIDA, Austrian agency ADA, European Commission, UN Development Programme, to name just a few. In the past 10 years, the family of partners of SlovakAid became significantly bigger. We have implemented more than 400 projects in nearly 20 countries around the world. Many of these projects left a considerable trace in the development of partner countries. Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, has nearly as many inhabitants as Slovakia. However, if you ever visit Kenya, you will probably come across a social center, health center, or a school built thanks to the development assistance of Slovakia. In Mombasa, in Eldoret, or in Nakuru, one can meet dozens of Slovak doctors, volunteers, or representatives of our non-governmental organizations. In Kenya, as well as in Serbia and other partner countries, I feel proud and happy that our development assistance is meaningful. I am always delighted to hear from my partners, Minister of Foreign Affairs of countries of the Western Balkans or Eastern Partnership, their appreciation for advice and recommendations of Slovak experts, and to hear from them how the Slovak know-how helped them in their integration process, institution building, or market economy. It's always a great pleasure for me to meet graduates from Slovak universities in countries like Mongolia or Vietnam, to hear them speak in fluent Slovak about their achievements in their home country and cooperation with Slovakia. I admire Slovak doctors, experts, and volunteers willing to leave their families and friends and risk their own health and life to help local communities in South Sudan or Afghanistan. Ladies and gentlemen, exactly a month ago, Slovakia was accepted as a full-fledged member of the OECD Development Assistance Committee. This can be perceived as a symbolic accomplishment of our 10-year-long integration into the international donors community, of which we are now becoming a firm part. I think it's also a challenge for us to build modern, transparent, and effective system of SlovakAid, as international community is defining new global development agenda beyond 2015. We are working hard on a new medium-term strategy for the years 2014-2018. We are upgrading our business model. We are amending our ODA Act. We are narrowing down and streamlining our ODA priorities. At the end of September, during the official week of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, I participated in the inauguration of the high-level political forum aimed at the post-2015 sustainable development. I realized that in 2000, when the world agreed on Millennium Development Goals, Slovakia was still a net aid recipient. Today, 13 years later, the position of Slovakia in the world is completely different. And different is also our responsibility. Our story shows that effective transformation is possible if determination and political will is real, and reforms are not just approved, but also implemented. This is one of the key messages incorporated in our development aid. We want to build upon it and develop it further. Let us start right now at this conference. I wish you a fruitful discussion and pleasant stay in Bratislava, and I thank you for your attention.
Deputy Prime Minister Lajčák, dear ministers, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here to celebrate 10 years of SlovakAid with you. The title you have chosen for this session, A Vision of Development Cooperation for a Changing World, could hardly be more appropriate. Our modern world is changing at fast pace, and the European Union has a duty to respond to that, including through the development cooperation it pursues. And I am pleased to confirm that Slovakia has been increasingly playing its part over the last 10 years. Slovakia's development aid strategy is in line with EU development policy, enshrined in the so-called Agenda for Change. Your aid is focused on a limited number of countries, Kenya, South Sudan and Afghanistan, to name just 3, and on targeted sectors. I am convinced this is a recipe we all should follow to get high impact and visible results from the aid we provide. One of clear added values of Slovak cooperation is the capacity to share the experience of transition process. Along with most of the countries that joined the European Union 9 years ago, Slovakia has a unique experience of state building, of reforming the economy, and of establishing a democratic system, all essential elements for a successful development policy. Recent events in North Africa, for instance, have shown that transformation experience is useful beyond the Balkans and our eastern neighborhood. It has a universal application. So a clear development policy, such as we have now put in place, is all well and good. But to have any real impact, it must be supported by adequate means. As you know, the European Union has promised to meet a collective target to set aside 0.7% of gross national income as aid by 2015. Countries like Slovakia that joined in 2004 committed to a 0.33% target. Well, today the picture is mixed. On one hand, the European Union and its member states are by far the most generous donor in the world, accounting for more than 50% of global aid. We should be proud of the leadership we show, and you should be proud of your part in it. On the other hand, the EU's credibility is at stake, since we are still far from meeting these targets. Aid accounts for 0.42% of EU GNI, and at just over 60 million euros, Slovakia's official development assistance in 2013 is set to remain at about 0.09% of its GNI. I am fully aware of tough economic situations that most EU member states have to face. However, I believe aid is also an investment in the future. I therefore echo the call by the EU heads of state and government in June for us all to redouble our efforts to reach our other targets by 2015. I believe that Slovakia can and will step up to the plate. You recently became the 27th member of the OECD Development Assistance Committee, which is excellent news. It reflects your ambition to be a serious partner in development cooperation. And this ambition is most welcome at a time when poverty continues to destroy lives. We live in a world where every 8th person suffers from hunger, a world in which every minute a child dies from such easily preventable causes as a lack of food or drinkable water, and a woman dies from pregnancy-related complications. I think you will all agree with me that in today's world, when we have the technology and resources to eradicate extreme poverty in our lifetime, failure is simply not an option. Therefore, my vision for the next years is the one of a world free from extreme poverty and put on a sustainable development path. To turn that vision into reality, we will have to act on two fronts. First, we have important unfinished business ahead of us in terms of meeting the Millennium Development Goals before the target date of 2050. The European Union has been and will remain at the forefront in supporting partner countries to reach these crucial goals, notably also through our MDG initiative, focused on those countries and on MDGs most lagging behind. Slovakia is contributing to this effort through the European Development Fund. Second, the European Union and its member states together must continue to show leadership and play a full and constructive role in shaping the right post-2015 framework to succeed the Millennium Development Goals. All EU member states agree that the next framework should address the twin aims of eradicating poverty and securing the sustainable development of the planet. It should seek to provide a decent life for all by 2030, building on 5 key elements. The need for basic living standards to empower people, inclusive and sustainable growth to benefit all, sustainable resource management to preserve the environment, justice and equity to ensure fundamental human rights, and peace and stability. This forms the core of the clear vision we presented at the UN special event on the MDGs in New York last month. In New York, we recognize that action to end poverty must go hand in hand with action on sustainability. This is of interest to all the world's citizens, rich and poor. At the event, we also decided that this process should culminate in a single, comprehensive and universal post-2015 framework. It should build through a genuine partnership bringing together all people, governments from all countries, international organizations, civil society, and the private sector. And I am confident that the European Union and its member states, including Slovakia, are both ready and able to play a central role in shaping this framework. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thanks to SlovakAid, the Slovak development agenda has come a long way in just 10 years. It is now an effective instrument, an integral part of the Slovak Republic's foreign policy. This is far cry from 1989. Back then, you were looking outward to the world for assistance. Now, you are still looking outwards to the world. Only this time, you are there to help. That is a remarkable transformation, and one that I hope you will continue to share proudly with our partner countries around the world. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you both, Mr. Minister and Commissioner Piebalgs. Now I would like to kindly invite the members of the first panel and Mr. Pavel Dameš to moderate it. Thank you.
May I ask you to move a little bit there? We have an enormous crowd and still probably others will come. So if you could move a little bit there. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Pavel Dameš and it's my distinct pleasure to moderate this first panel, which will be dealing with the Balkan region which is for Slovaks, both politicians, NGOs, academics, but public at large, one of the most important regions in the world. Actually, during summer months, probably a quarter of Slovakia is spending time at summer resorts in Croatia and Montenegro, which are the #1 tourist destinations for our people. When Minister Lajčák was mentioning his personal story, how his life was intertwined with this region, I will also just start with, to move it a bit back. I visited first this region in 1991 when František Lipka was still Czechoslovak ambassador for Yugoslavia. It was during bloody war period. Then throughout Milosevic's year I visited this region several times and saw how people of this region are struggling to develop standard normal life in their respective countries. Map of the Balkans has changed, but also destiny of the people and their proximity, closeness to Europe has changed profoundly from those years. And for Slovakia it is rather unique region because not only emotionally we feel attached to these countries, but I think that in last 20 years since Slovakia came to being as an independent state, somehow we feel that this is the region where we could develop cooperation, and in some cases, if we did something a little bit better, that they can come learn. Our activists, politicians, businessmen, others are traveling to that region as well. So this first panel will try to look at and explore how Slovakia assisted, since we are dealing with 10th anniversary of SlovakAid, surely we will focus on this period, and we will be looking at what SlovakAid, Slovakia has done for this region. It will be introduced by Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign and European Affairs Minister Miroslav Lajčák. And after that we have trio of panelists from the Balkans who will verify whether what Miroslav Lajčák says is valid or not. Because sometimes we need the mirror and assessment, and we have three panelists from three different countries. Mr. Vujca Lazarovic is from Montenegro. He has the longest title. I tried to memorize his title, but I rather not to make mistake. I will read it for you, but in materials then you can find out a little bit more about him. Deputy Prime Minister for Economic and Financial System and Minister for Information and Telecommunications of Montenegro. Minister Lajčák, this is even longer title than you have. Yours I memorized already, but Vujca Lazovic is, I couldn't because I never seen this long title. Probably Minister of Culture, Multilingualism, and so on. She has more complicated, but this one is complicated enough. Vujca Lazarovic was not only politician, is not only a politician, but he has long academic career. He was vice dean at economic school in Podgorica and contributed a lot to transition of his country. Mr. Jovan Andanovsky, State Secretary for European Affairs of Macedonia. This I was able to figure out because we have some title like this at our foreign ministry. He is a distinguished lawyer. He has both degrees from Skopje and also from Krakow, and he is Mr. Europe of Republic of Macedonia. Last but not least, Sonja Licht. Sonja Licht is not an easy case to introduce because Sonja Licht is institution herself. Sonja, but since we are saying who studied what, Sonja, we even do not know that Sonja has degree in sociology, but anybody who deals with the Balkan issues knows Sonja Licht because she cares about political excellence across the region, not only in her home country, nowadays Serbia. Sonja is now president, and actually she celebrates 10th anniversary of Belgrade Fund for Political Excellence, which she founded with her colleagues. But Sonja was well-known dissident in her country and human rights activist who won numerous awards for her brave stance during tough times when she risked so much when trying to fight for freedom and dignity across the Balkan region. She was also for over a decade director president of Fund for Open Society in Belgrade. But for Slovakia, Sonja is very important since she was part of so-called Bratislava process during Milosevic's period when she was bringing people from her region to Bratislava to strategize how to change the situation over there. So this is the quartet which will be trying to tackle the first session on the Balkan region. I would like to ask Mr. Miroslav Lajčák, who is host, but also a man who played profound role not only as Slovak politician, but also as European and international politician in the Balkans in last decade, if he would kick off this panel by sharing some of his thoughts about the role of Slovak developmental assistance and actually just Slovak ties with the Balkans. And after that we will follow in order as I was introducing our three friends from the Balkan region. Minister, floor is yours.
Thank you, Pavel. And once again, good morning and welcome. I'll try to set the scene for this panel and for the discussion to say very briefly a few words about the philosophy of our Slovak development assistance, and particularly about our role in the region of the Western Balkans. As I said in my introductory speech, when we defined our development assistance 10 years ago, we were trying to find out what's in it, what Slovakia can offer which is different from other countries, where is our added value. The fact was clear to all of us that we are not going to be the biggest or strongest donor anytime soon, but there are things we have which the others may not have, namely our authentic experience. We have our first-hand experience from building a statehood, creating the democratic institutions, and of course forming the market economy. Logically, this was something that we believed could be offered as a part of our development assistance, and it was only logical that we've chosen the region of the Western Balkans as our first partners region, because these are the countries that have declared their EU integration as their ultimate goal. These are countries that are trying to follow our path and our experience. So this was our offer to them. It is clear that we have no hidden agenda. We are honest brokers when it comes to these countries, which gives us the privilege of being not only strong supporters, but also very loud and clear critics when we don't like things. And our offer was, well, this is our experience. We have achieved a lot. We have made mistakes. So learn from both, so you can be more successful and you can do all of this faster and quicker. So this is how it all started. We've chosen Serbia and Montenegro. At that time it was one country as our first program country. And when I look back at these 10 years, and in this region one can see how much our ODA has shifted and has shaped and changed as Slovakia was moving forward. In the first stage, the theme, the main topic was reconciliation and reconstruction. And some of you would remember that among the first projects we were delivering bridges. Bridges in 6 regions of Serbia that are serving the community of 300 people. So it was very much assistance on the substance, but also symbolic about building bridges. Later on, we've moved from, so to say, from hardware to software. And we started offering technical assistance and transfer of experience. That means institutional assistance and bringing in the EU experience. And finally, the third stage is about linking our Slovakia's assistance with the European Union's accession funds and using European Commission's tools such as IPA, Twinning, or TAIEX. Speaking about the individual countries, Serbia is the biggest recipient of the Slovak development assistance. We've implemented more than 100 projects there. And looking back over these 10 years, as I said, we started with bridges. Then we've focused on consolidation of democracy and the rule of law. And since 2011, we are supporting the projects which are designed to transfer the experience and knowledge of transformation, and we have started implementing our new and very flexible official development assistance instrument, which is called CETIR program, Center for Transmission of the Transformation and Integration Expertise. When we look at Montenegro, here the particular example of our assistance that is worth mentioning is the National Convention on European Integration, which is a project that enjoyed big success in Slovakia and has become an export article not only to Montenegro but also to Moldova and Ukraine. And Albania right now is very interested to learn from our experience. So discussion about what European integration would mean for the country. We've also focused on sector of environment, which was another priority of our SlovakAid in Montenegro. And also since 2009, the program, which is called Public Finance for the Development, is developed there, whose aim is to strengthen national capacities in the area of combating corruption and ensuring efficient use of public funds. Montenegro is also interesting for us because this is where we were learning how to work with international donors. And I would like to mention two projects in the area of combating terrorism. We are working together with the UN Office on Drugs and Crime on training on judges and prosecutors. And then we are also working with the UNDP on liquidation of small arms and light weapons, and also the training, the technical staff of the Ministry of Defense. And finally, Macedonia. Here, again, our focus shifted from institution building and infrastructure gradually to the transfer of experience. We have implemented 12 projects there. First, capacity building of the civil society, the rule of law. We have successful examples of trilateral cooperation in Macedonia. Particularly would like to mention the project which is developed both by the national parliaments of Slovakia and the Czech Republic together with the Macedonian parliament, whose aim is to set parliamentary institute, library, archives, and we are also using the program is being developed thanks to the assistance from the USAID and the Swiss government. And Macedonia is also a symbolic case because it's sort of passing the torch. Next week we will have Macedonian experts here in Bratislava, and we will have consultations on how to help Macedonia becoming a donor country itself. So how to, in a way, establish Macedonian aid. And this is also good proof of a success and progress this country has made, and we are happy to be part of it. So this is what I wanted to say at the beginning, just to define why we went to the Western Balkans and what we have done with our partner countries.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Minister Lajčák, for your mapping the region and showing concrete examples where Slovak developmental assistance went. I would like to ask Mr. Vujica Lazarovic now to tell us from his point of view how you view Slovak developmental assistance and this transfer of know-how or developing cooperation with both our public institutions, NGOs, civil society, from your Montenegrin point of view. Sir?
Thank you, Commissioner Prebles, Mr. Lajčák, dear colleagues, Deputy Prime Ministers, Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. At the very beginning, let me express my gratitude for invitation to participate such significant anniversary. It is not anniversary for Slovakia only, but in a way for us as well. Our country relies on Slovakian remarkable expertise and experience in planning and implementing our development policy. I want to say some important relationship between Slovakia and Montenegro. It's extra dimension in relation between Slovakia and Montenegro due to roles of Slovakian diplomats through one of the most significant moment in the recent Montenegrin history in 2006. It was period of independence, restoration of Montenegro. My esteemed colleagues, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Lajčák, and the current ambassador of Slovakia in Montenegro, Mr. Lipka, had one of the crucial roles in the complex referendum process, highly complex referendum process in Montenegro at that time. European Union appointed a special representative, Mr. Lajčák. Through his authority and experience, he made a great contribution for Montenegro to pass very important exam on democratic maturity. Entire Montenegrin, European and world public fixed their eyes on Mr. Lipka, who was president of Republic Election Committee at that time when announcing results of independence referendum. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you understand why I recognize two gentlemen as a very important person in modern Montenegrin history. But in the same time, that process was very important for whole Western Balkans because it was good sign for democratic capacity and for future of Balkans. It was encouraged those who believes about democratic capacity of Western Balkans. Referring to particular development aid and support, we appreciate the knowledge and experience which Slovakia shares with us in our European and Euro-Atlantic integration. This is confirmed by numerous projects involving Slovakian government, from National Convention for European Integration to supporting implementation of government communication strategy for NATO. I want to say the next. We do not feel pressed by deadlines of EU and NATO membership, but we do strive to implement the standards valid in developed society in a prompt and quality way. What gives us an extra motivation is the announcement of two most complex negotiation chapters opening by the end of this year. I hope today, after final progress report from European Commission, will confirm that approach. You know, these are chapters 23 and 24. In that regard, I would like to make special emphasis to Slovak expert support for developed our action plan for this process. We believe that furthermore we expect an invitation to NATO membership in the near future. We believe that integration processes are exclusive way for stability of Western Balkans. Through its all activities in past period, Montenegro has recognized as a leader of implementation of European and Euro-Atlantic values in the Balkans. Next, I want to say that beside integration process, that to SlovakAid, other important segment of democratic and economic prosperity were the subject of support from Slovakia. First of all is support to development of civil society and democratic institution and market-oriented economy, and also as well as implementation of standard in the special fields like environmental protection and agriculture and food safety and etc. Let me use this opportunity to briefly refer to some of the projects. Mr. Lajčák mentioned National Convention for European Integration. Is a very important project for us. The main aim of this project is to improvement of platform of EU negotiation. It is forum gathering from different social structure, and in Slovakian government in 2013, third year in row, participate in financing of the projects. This year and next year we will continue this project with some new working group addressed to sensitive chapters, judiciary and fundamental rights, justice, right, freedom and security, agriculture, food safety, vet and phytosanitary policy and fishery, environmental protection, competitiveness, consumer and health protection, and second important project which supported from Slovakian aid is the awareness of the alliance. the main aims of this project is to raise of public awareness of the NATO and increase support for Montenegro's accession to the alliance. You know what happened in the past decade of 20th century in Western Balkans, and for us is very, very important what is public opinion about NATO, about our accession to alliance. And in 2009, support by that project, we had a lot of public discussion with citizens. We explain what is the essential of alliance, what is the benefit of membership of alliance in the political, economical, social, security side, and etc. I want to say also for us is very important Slovakian support and significant contribution in active participation in implementation of government communication strategy for NATO. Finally, I would like particularly to point out cooperation with the Center for Transfer of Experience from Integration Reform, having in mind the fact that Montenegro is strongly in integration processes. I believe that in the next period we should focus on transfer of Slovakia expertise and experience gained through integration processes. From 2010 to today, there were 11 study visits from Montenegro to Slovakia for over 30 Montenegrin civil servants from relevant Montenegrin institutions, ministers, judiciary bodies, and negotiation structures. Different fields and topics were presented to Montenegro colleagues by Slovakian colleagues, transfer experience and knowledge in special and different areas like improvement of rule of law, judicial independence and international cooperation in criminal acts, institutional instruments and in fighting the crime and corruption, and the Slovakian model and experience in the Judiciary Academy. At the end, let me use the opportunity to once more express my sincere gratitude for invitation to today's panel, and I believe we will have in future successful cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lazovic, for your intervention. I would like to ask now Mr. Jovan Andonovsky, who I'm sure will address some of the broader issues since you are dealing with European integration processes and you are meeting with your colleagues. So if you could look at a little bit Macedonia, Slovakia, but some of the broader issues, I think that this would open up the floor for broader discussion as well.
Thank you very much. Dear Mr. Commissioner, Ministers, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my personal pleasure and great honor to address today's event and to speak of Macedonia's experience and expectations in regards to bilateral cooperation with the Slovak Republic. In my capacity as a State Secretary in the Secretariat for European Affairs in the Government of Macedonia, my staff and I are personally having a solid overview and knowledge of cooperation programs with different partners, including the European Union. Speaking from a historic point of view, especially in the past 5 or 7 years, I would like to say that cooperation with the countries from the Central Europe came at the crucial moment for the entire Western Balkans. Why I'm saying this? Because at this time, our traditional partners from the old EU member states were announcing a phase-out in terms of donor assistance. The key reason for this phase-off was the advanced status of Macedonia and the other Western Balkan countries in terms of EU accession process, as well as the fact that all mentioned countries contribute to the budget of the EU funds. Additionally, the global financial crisis played an important role in this decision. The focus in the bilateral cooperation was given on vital pieces of the reform process, especially in the reform of the public administration, the reform of the judiciary, and in general building democratic capacities of the institutions and improvement of the overall economical situation. Needless to say that assistance in this period from our partner countries was vital, as it delivers not only finances, but transfer of knowledge and expertise, so know-how, as well as contributes to closer communication and cooperation between the institutions of two countries. And at this point, we saw launch and intensifying of cooperation programs of our new partners, among which the Slovak Republic could be regarded as among the most active. Going back to the general topic of this presentation, the personal story and the relationship with Slovakia, I would like to say that in financial terms, the SlovakAid may not be matched with those from other more traditional donor countries in Europe. But still, in the context of good timing, the open approach and openness for discussion and defining of priorities, and valuable experience offered, I believe to be safe and correct to say that the practical value from SlovakAid exceeds by far its financial aspects. When saying what we have learned by working together, I would like to emphasize on several points. First, similarity of problems and challenges we face or we faced in the context of building functional democracy and market economy. Second, high degree of applicability of solutions to these problems with minor adjustments due to the specific national conditions. And three, significant potential for cooperation between institutions that needs to be utilized in the next period on mutual benefit. In specific, Macedonia is interested in continuation of cooperation and work with the Slovak experts in different areas of reforms of institutions, and especially focusing on the adoption and the implementation of the EU acquis. Furthermore, I believe that it is a mutual interest that we develop a platform and offer some support in building relations between businesses and the civil society organizations from the two countries. So I see as an idea in this respect the establishment of civil society organization support facility within the program could be good way to move forward. There are a lot of other personal examples that I can share with you during the discussion, especially infrastructural projects where after the implementation of these projects, it is clearly visible the profile of the donor country. And as well, one of the most important issues in implementation of the bilateral projects is that the cooperation between the institutions, the experts, the business and the civil society organizations goes beyond the project life. I'm quite sure and optimistic that the entire region of the Western Balkans will move forward in the process of EU integration, and that we will be able to create our own capacities to be donor country in the future. In the meantime, we are looking forward for our bilateral cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now the last panelist is Sonja Licht, and then you will have chance to make your comments, questions to all of them. Sonja, please, floor is yours.
Thank you, Ministers, Excellencies. ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, including Minister Lajčák. Long-term, very important friend. And you will find out very soon why this friendship happened, as with many other people in this room. Well, first of all, I really want to congratulate the 10th anniversary, and I want to congratulate, as far as the Western Balkans is concerned, also the day you have chosen for this conference. I'm not sure that it was intentional, but some things simply happen because they have to happen. Today is the day of the progress report that the European Union is issuing every year, and the progress report is more than a report. Every year it's a benchmark and a mirror. All the countries of the Western Balkans can look into the mirror and see how far they managed to go in realizing their one and only common dream, to be part and parcel of the European Union. This is the dream which helped us to move forward. This is the dream which helped us to overcome, is helping us to overcome the horrible experience of the 90s. And we are a blessed region, because we are the only post-conflict region in the world so far that has the possibility, that has the opportunity to become part of the still most successful political and peace project in the history of humankind. I know it is not perfect, but please tell me, is there anything better that was invented until now? The answer is, of course, no. And this is why we, from the Western Balkans, I think I can talk on behalf of my co-panelists as well, are so much still believing that this project will manage to go on, and in fact to become even stronger than it was until now. Now we have to contribute to this project. And I dare to say that we are already contributing. For me, the contribution started here in Bratislava, and it is more than 10 years ago. It was 1999. The European Union, with a few other very important players, such as the United States, designed the famous Stability Pact for Southeastern Europe. The major idea with the Stability Plan was, in fact, how to pull out the entire region from a turmoil it found itself in, and, let's be frank, to get rid of Slobodan Milosevic. This was a great idea. There was only one flaw in the idea. They have forgotten Serbia. So they wanted to get rid of Slobodan Milosevic and his really very, very ugly regime. And let's not forget that Serbia was and is still the largest country of the region. But somehow, those who were fighting the regime were kind of forgotten to be included. And then Slovakia stepped in the person of Minister Eduard Kukan, and Miroslav Lajčák was working with him very closely at that time. And another person, whom you will meet tomorrow, those who don't know him already, Vasil Hudak, who was the senior vice president of the East-West Institute, together with his boss, Stephen Heinz, decided to organize a conference here in Slovakia, July 1999, and in fact open up the space for all the democratically minded and opposition people in Serbia to become part and parcel of the Stability Pact. In my opinion, this was a step not only in the right direction. The Slovak minister and the entire Slovak government proved to be courageous enough to do a step which was not usual. This was the beginning of the Bratislava process. As Pavel mentioned, I really had the honor at that time to be offered to be the head of a task force that was kind of leading the Bratislava process, and it had only two important priorities. One was how to create a democratic alliance for change within then Serbia, including Kosovo, of course, and Montenegro. And second, how to develop international partnership. So Slovakia played a major role, in fact, in designing the international partnership with our part of the world. I dare to think, maybe I'm wrong, but I dare to think that this was the major step in designing the SlovakAid. I think Slovakia understood that although a small country, it has strength enough, power enough to be more ambitious than it is usually the case in similar situations. The SlovakAid played a very important role in our development, in our European perspective. I will mention, and here I have to correct you a little bit, Minister Lajčák, the National Convention for European Integration was also organized in Serbia by the European Movement and a number of other organizations, was very, very successful. And to prove the success, I have to inform you all that just a few days ago I had a discussion with the head of our Parliamentary Committee for European Integration, Mrs. Natasha Vučković, who told me that she, in fact, wants to initiate the rebuild of the convention together with our chief negotiator, Madam Tanja Mišković, because they came to the conclusion that we need the convention in order to make sure that our accession process will be as inclusive as possible. So I think this is another kind of small picture proving that the Slovak support and presence is much, much bigger than the money itself. It is the spirit, it is a factor that we really became partners. And then a third story, which is very much, again, my own personal story. I started coming regularly to the Global Security Forum, GlobSec, organized here in Bratislava every spring. And I think it was the third time when I simply, while listening to the ministers of foreign affairs of the Visegrad countries, simply had a feeling that this is something we need in our part of the world. So this is how, I must admit, the idea of the Belgrade Security Forum was born. Would it be possible without this inspiration and ongoing support by the Slovak government, the SlovakAid, the Slovak Atlantic Commission? Well, maybe it would be possible, but it wouldn't be the same. By the way, Minister Lajčák is a regular visitor to our opening panels, and I'm very grateful for this. Not only because you are there, but because you are bringing a message that we are not alone. And that when we discuss about major challenges of security and European integration, when we discuss major issues regarding major topics in the world today, we also manage to step out of our, well, I must say, narrow, often very narrow, national or even regional framework, and go further. We in the Western Balkans are used very often to think that we are the most unhappy people in the world. That's, easy to think if you look into your own belly button, as I like to say. But if we look broader, then we can see that, in fact, we achieved so much, that we are the most successful post-conflict region in the world. And we are the most successful post-conflict region in the world, I dare to say, exactly because we have this fascinating opportunity of European perspective. Those who know me know that I'm really boring with going on and on with the same idea. A few days ago, I was really a happy woman. We had a visit of a high-level Israeli diplomat to Belgrade. And when she was telling a group of people at the reception why she's so happy to be in Belgrade, she said, you see, from a Western point of view, maybe you are still a troubled region. From our point of view, from the Middle East, and by the way, it was a wonderful reception because the Palestinian ambassador was for the first time, as far as I know, part of the reception at the Israeli residence. When we look at your region from our point of view, you are almost a paradise. So I said, okay, I'm not crazy. I have some people who think the same way and who recognize that being in such a proximity, being politically and geographically being part of Europe is a blessing. Are we going to be able to benefit from that blessing or not is really now on hands and in hands of our friends. And Slovakia is carrying very high the flag of that friendship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. To be labeled that we are the best post-conflict region, now you know why Sonia is so well regarded in her group of political excellence, and then she's almost making every European happy when we are down during period of crisis, when Sonia is coming on all kinds of European fora saying, I'm from the Western Balkans, from the best post-conflict territory in the world. I think that you couldn't frame mindset better for any discussion once we are thinking about tough issues which are still ahead of us in bringing all Western Balkan countries to European family. We have now about 20 minutes for the discussion, questions, comments. I may just kick off then with one question to our two panelists from Montenegro and Macedonia. How powerful this engine or vision of membership in European Union is for your people and your political class? Whether this momentum Slovenia is in, Croatia is in, association agreement step by step and so on, what's the public mood and whether you have any anti-EU political movements, groups which are complicating this process? So if you could tell us a little bit from Macedonian and Montenegrin point of view, and then floor is open for everybody from this hall, whether you are diplomats, student, NGO activists, journalists, anybody, so then please prepare your question, comments to all foreign panelists.
We have a better situation on this year than was situation 2 years ago, because a lot of people in Montenegro supported our European orientation and our European integration process. But, you know, now we have a lot of problems in function, not only in European Union, in the whole world, absolutely. But it is not depend on public opinion in Montenegro about European integration. It's definitely our orientation, and I hope, I'm sure, we will have in future times successful story. If we will have, and I believe about that in next period, support from Slovakia through this project which we explained today.
Mr. Andonovsky, please.
Thank you. Despite the fact that the global financial crisis plays an important role in the process of EU enlargement, as well the situation in the Middle East and the Arab Spring, the process of enlargement of the EU is not a finished story. Croatia recently became member state of the European Union. Montenegro recently started the negotiations. Serbia is about to start the negotiation, and there is a clear EU perspective for the rest of the Western Balkan countries. Unfortunately, Macedonia was granted candidate status since year 2005, and we received the first positive recommendation for start of negotiations in year 2009, and consequently every single year it's repeatedly positive. Because of the bilateral dispute with our neighboring country, Greece, we are unfortunately not ready to start the negotiations. At this stage, we are unclear that we are ready to start the negotiations. That doesn't mean that we are ready to become member state of the European Union. That means that still needs to be done. Reforms in the crucial area, fight against corruption and organized crime, reform of the judiciary, of the public administration, improvement of the overall economical situation, etc. If I make a parallel towards the support, public support on the EU integration process, despite the fact that there was serious concerns, and after the first blockade in year 2009, all the serious political stakeholders realized that there is no plan B, and that we have to go on with the reform process no matter when the negotiations will start. So we don't need to lose any time. And about the polls, I think we are in the top of the list of the EU optimists. Approximately 90% of the population of Macedonia is in favor of Macedonia joining the European Union. And this is a clear message to all the political stakeholders that we have to follow the will of the people of Macedonia.
Were you jealous when Croatia joined the European Union? You personally?
Personally not, to be honest, because that's a clear evidence that the place of the Balkans is in the European Union. And the European politicians, together with the Balkan politicians, have a historical role and historical chance to create lifelong lasting peace on the Balkans, something that is in a correlation with what was said by Madam Licht.
Thanks. Questions, comments from the audience? Please, just introduce. We have microphone ritual. Just introduce yourself, please, and put your question.
Good morning. This is Sharif Ghunaim from Egypt, the worst post-conflict country. This is why
second best post-conflict region, because Western Balkans is.
It's because I think you've heard the news, so we're back to the regime we revolted against. And this is why when the best post-conflict country provoked me to speak today. I'm supposed to talk tomorrow. But anyway, how can we deal with such situation? I mean, from your lessons learned and from all the Balkan countries, the transition to democracy, have any of the countries have faced such situation, and how they dealt with it? Mm-hmm. I represent an NGO, so how NGOs can deal with such situation? Thank you.
I think that this is a fundamental question, and I think that it would be best if we could develop broader dialogue on this transfer of skills even from the Balkans to other territories, because this is happening already. A month ago I was in Tunis, and there is a Serbian guy who is running IRI programs there. He's here somewhere? Okay. Hi. So I think that there are many people from the Balkan region who are already engaged, and I think that once we hear about situation in those, we could definitely develop a very good dialogue on that. And this competition, who is better in post-conflict, I think will be one of the leading themes. Any comments, questions from the floor? Please, go ahead.
Thank you. Andrej Matišek, David Pravda. Welcome, all of friends from the Western Balkans. good to see you back, Sonia. I just visited Belgrade Security Forum for the third time. As you mentioned, it's a great, I think it is a great opportunity to share experiences, to share vision, to share ideas. Mr. Foreign Minister Lajčák, you, in your remarks, you mentioned also that we should share also mistakes we did with our friends, and I think it is very important because it's also a good, I think, a good reflections for us. So, yeah, I am a member of the media, so I will stay as negative as possible. So, when was the last time? As anybody expected, I hope. So when was the last time you said to our friends, okay guys, don't follow this because it was a mistake? And if I may, my question for all participants from the Balkan countries, I know we have very little time, but just in few sentences if you can say, the EU is evolving and it will be a very different EU when you will join the EU. I hope once it will happen. I wish you good luck, but I hope you know that it will be a very different EU. I mean in terms of structure, maybe federalism and so on. How much do you realize it, if I may ask? Thank you.
Thanks. Probably the best mistakes, country with best mistakes in the world.
Well, you ask when was the last time, and there has never been last time. It's always, every time I meet with my partners, I'm brutally friendly, open, and honest with them because that's the only way it may make sense. And I remember when President Gasparovic met with President Nikolic of Serbia in New York. President Nikolic was sort of praising and complaining at the same time, saying, we have high respect for Mr. Lajčák. We are always very pleased when he's in Belgrade, but somehow he always comes with very tough messages which are very difficult to listen to. So, yeah, because I'm telling you how things are, not how you want to hear them. Being a late starter helps you to study our examples. We were naive at certain stages. We were sometimes accepting the examples or models which were good in theory, which were good in different countries, but did not reflect specificities of Slovakia, because we are all different. When I served in Bosnia and Herzegovina, I was shocked to find out number of legal regulations and laws that would be fantastic in an ideal world, but not in Bosnia and Herzegovina, never worked because they were sort of imposed by the international community without really reflecting the realities on the ground. So one thing is you have to be very firm on setting your goals. Determination is crucial. Reforms are crucial. There must be no compromise on this. But at the same time, you must not ignore your local environment, your history, your mentality. So the combination of both is really important. No compromises on principles, but at the same time not trying to transfer the different models mechanically without demonstrating respect for your own country and for your own people. I think this is crucial, and I think this is one of the major mistakes international community makes when, with good intention of trying to help the countries or the crisis regions of the world, I see quite often very little respect for the local mentality, local environment, local history. So if something worked very well in the Middle East, it does not automatically mean that we can just mechanically bring it over and implement in Kenya or in Serbia. So this is something that we need to do much better on our side.
Now, the question for all three of you, as briefly as possible, are you worried that this changing geometry of European Union causing you trouble in your thinking and strategy to join this? Sonia.
Well, first of all, I must say people know very well. And those 90% in Macedonia, or at the moment 63% in Serbia, who support immediate membership in the EU, know very well that this is not the same EU it used to be. But there is no other alternative to if these countries do not want to remain on the periphery of the periphery, if they do not want to struggle with everything that that status brings, they understand that integration is a must. Don't forget that since the former Yugoslavia was an open country, we have hundreds of thousands of people from our region working abroad for many, many years. So they are part of the EU. They know what the EU in fact is. So the knowledge also that comes back from that corner is very important. So there are no illusions. And I think it is good that we are approaching our European perspective without illusions. But we still, and this is, I think, the most important thing, Mr. Lazovic mentioned already, it's not only the political class, it's the citizens who understand that if they want more standards, a better organized state, a better organized society, European Union is the answer. This is why in Serbia, for example, regularly in all opinion polls, the percentage of those who want European-style reforms is much higher than the percentage of those who immediately would like to become part of the EU. I think this is the most encouraging response.
Mr. Lazovic, is it similar, same, different in your country?
Yes, we have a similar approach. It is the reason why I said that we do not feel pressed by deadlines of membership for EU. For us important other side, we do strive to implement standard valid in the developed society. What is the alternative? We observe, we attend that changes in European Union, but we believe in future of European Union. It's not only opinion from political establishment, it is public opinion now.
Thanks. Mr. Andonovsky.
Same goes to Macedonia, I believe. Since the ancient times during the Roman kingdom, in the period of Pax Romana or during the Ottoman era, the Pax Ottomana meant freedom of movement of people, goods and capital. The core principles of the European Union nowadays. So there is no alternative or there is no plan B, and the Balkan cannot stay isolated aside from the European Union.
Great. If you will be following Slovak example on this strategic goal, watch Slovaks. Slovaks we want to be core Europe is mantra in this country. Whatever happens, we want to be there. So if we will be helping you, always say you want to be core Europe, and Slovaks will be bringing you to core. Because here is a lot of debate, what kind of Europe and so on. So now we moved into this where we would like to be and so on, being a Eurozone country and how and so. There is definitely a lot going on in European Union, which is important for you to consider. We have space for last question. The youngest hand I will see, I will give that. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. That was a compliment if I have ever received one. My name is Lucia Popovska, and I work with Habitat for Humanity International. And I'm very pleased to be here today, and I congratulate my Slovak partners for this beautiful anniversary. I do, however, have a question related to aid and the concept of aid as a development professional, a young development professional of 20-odd years. We have seen quite a lot of criticism in the past decade as of the place of aid in development and the role it has or hasn't played. And it would be interesting maybe to hear from you, Mr. Lajčák, about your reflections about the place of and the vision and the future of SlovakAid vis-à-vis aid and international development. Furthermore, it's very encouraging to me as a person who comes from the Balkans to hear the positive attitude portrayed here by the representatives of my own country and the neighboring countries, and I'm glad to hear that. However, I find it difficult to fully buy into only the positive side. And there are quite a few questions there, both on sides of the European Union and on side of the people who do come from the Western Balkans or whatever we want to call that part of the world today. And that is, on one hand, we do have a European Union, and thank you to the gentleman from the audience who asked the last question. We have a European Union that is kind of questioning its own identity and the enlargement, and we have seen a lot of turns of mind and turns of mood. Let's not even open the conversation about the place of Turkey or not, and etc. So there is a certain questioning going on, if not skepticism vis-a-vis enlargement, that I think we have all been facing, and we are happening all in that context. On the other side, in spite of all the positive numbers and figures and rates quoted that we heard today, we do have an audience. You mentioned, Mr. Andonovsky, that Macedonia has been receiving positive recommendations for how many years, and now is yet unable to start a negotiation because of a conflict with a neighbor over a fairly rational issue, let's face it. And we do have a European Union that has played a, how shall I say, a fairly ambiguous role in terms of representing the values upon which it's supposed to stand. This has surely had impact on how optimistic people in the country are about the values and what the Union represents. And my final question to you all is, how are you all going to contribute to having this conversation very honestly within this context, with all the celebratory and positive attitude displayed? However, we do have a very complex situation, and how are you helping address it? Thanks.
Thanks a lot. So we will start from that end, Mr. Andonovsky, and we'll finish with Mr. Lajčák.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question. Of course, that despite all the optimism, that we are facing a lot of challenges, and that's what I mentioned in my address. At this stage, we are ready to start the negotiations. That doesn't mean that we are ready to become member state of the European Union. A lot of things needs to be done and needs to be changed, particularly in the improvement of the capacity of the institutions, of the democracy, fight against corruption and organized crime, reform of the judiciary and the public administration, improvement of the overall economical situation, good neighborly relations, etc. And I see the role of the entire society, including the institutions and the NGO society, as crucial in this agenda, because the will of the 90% of the population is a strong message to all the key stakeholders in the society to go on in this way. The role of the donor community is to match the assistance with the needs of the society. And that's why, as a partners in this process, we have to go on to do the changes in the society, because at the end it's not because we do the reforms because of Brussels, but we do it because of the benefit of our own people. This is my short comment, but if you want, we can go on with the discussion later on.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Mr. Lazovic.
You know, Montenegro is not an ideal society, and now we have the similar position like other country who was in past period in pre-accession policy in the same situation like Montenegro now. Our orientation is to build capacity of institution to develop on civil society, and also our orientation in the economic area is very important, because if you will have in future time problem in our economy, it's not so good for our European orientation, it's not so good for our future generally. And we know what happened in Europe, and for us now is very important all messages from Brussels about future policy of European Union. But for us, is the most important cooperation and collaboration with a country like Slovakia, because that experience for us is very, very useful. And I want to say finally, once again, to thank to Slovakian support in the previous period, and I hope in future.
Thanks, Sonia.
If we wouldn't have problems, we wouldn't be here. Because why would SlovakAid support the region or countries that is more or less on the level of Austria, right? So we are here exactly because of the problems. But we also have to forget, and we in the Western Balkans are champions of whining, to forget that we have also achieved a lot. And this is why I insisted on the positive approach, not because I don't see the negative, but because I do acknowledge that, among other things, the fact that the European perspective is there as a possibility with all the problems the EU is facing. You have situations such as in Croatia and Serbia, to mention those two countries, where the nationalists, the Europhobes, in fact, on the changing ticket of becoming pro-European, managed to not only change their own profile, but they are in fact changing the country. And I will give you an example, very short. Some of you know about B-92. B-92 was a radio, and B-92 was a resistance movement to Milosevic in the 90s. One of the founders of B-92 is Mr. Sasha Mirkovic. He was yesterday appointed Deputy Assistant Minister of Culture and Media, in charge of media in the new Ministry of Culture. If you would tell me that under Vucic's role, and I must say Vucic and Dacic, the two people coming from that previous regime and previous times, someone who is a founder of B-92 will be appointed Assistant Minister for Media, I would tell you something is wrong, either with my hearing or with you. It can't be. It happened. And why is it happening? Exactly because they understood, those who are now ruling Serbia, and those who, by the way, managed to come to the Brussels Agreement. Why? Because they could. The other ones would probably be hanged in the center of Belgrade if they would go that way, but they can do it, as Nixon could do to China, as de Gaulle could declare that Algeria is independent and all the million French citizens should come back to France. So this is what the European Union is doing, and it's not doing only for us. Excuse me, I'm now going to be politically incorrect. You will allow me, right, for a moment. If there would be no European Union membership, if Slovakia and Hungary wouldn't be part of the European Union, a few years ago, I'm afraid the tensions between these two countries could develop into a serious problem. I don't want to say that they disappeared, but exactly because being part of this wonderful, still wonderful project, they managed to get together. I remember one evening of our discussion in a secluded corner of a garden a few years ago, before Minister Lajčák went to Hungary with his boss. And yes, they made it because they wanted to make sure that their European future will continue. This is the European project, and this is why we need it more than anything else in the world.
You didn't ask a question, you rather brought out a topic for a separate panel. And it's impossible to answer it in complexity, but you asked about the development assistance. So I remember what I once heard from the Prime Minister of Singapore, and I keep remembering that. He said, if you want to be useful, you have to be relevant. And this is what we are trying to do with our development assistance. We try to be relevant. That's why we've chosen the Western Balkans, because we are relevant there. Why have we designated Moldova as one of the 3 program countries for our development assistance for the next year. Because our offer is of relevance for them. Why Afghanistan is the second priority. Because everything is relevant, given the situation of that country. And that's why we are trying to contribute to the stabilization through the development assistance, through the humanitarian assistance, through the military presence. And why Kenya is the third program country, because it's also a test for us. Kenya is one of the 4 countries in sub-Saharan Africa where we have residential embassy. That means we are politically present there. Our NGOs have been there before our official assistance program started. And we want to see our coordinated approach and coordinated impact, not only development assistance, but the political dialogue and political support. Development aid later on developing into a business cooperation and greater level and deeper cooperation between the 2 countries. Because development assistance must not be seen in isolation as stand-alone, but it's part of the concerted approach to solving issues and problems. And last, we must not forget that, the basic motto of the development assistance is that it always pays off to export stability rather than to import instability.
Thanks a lot, and thanks very much. We came to conclusion of this first panel of our conference. There will be several panels dealing with other parts of the world. Then I think it would be very natural if we could compare notes where Slovak developmental community, be it ministry, NGOs, business, academia, and so on, can learn also from you how we could adjust in coming decade. But surely this panel dedicated to Western Balkans was natural kick-off panel, since there are so many relationships which have been developed in the last 20 years, 10 years in particular, since we formalized developmental assistance. I would like to thank Quartet, which entertained you this morning, Miroslav Lajčák, Sonia Licht, Vujica Lazovic, and last but not least, Jovan Andanovsky. Thank you very much, and we have coffee break.
Thank you. Despite small delay, we start at 11 sharp. Please follow it. Thank you.